Hey, Eric. So at the end of each episode, we give our audience an opportunity to reach out to us and ask questions or potentially suggest a topic for us to discuss for the next episode.
Yep.
And we've had a fantastic question come up. It's a great opportunity for us to go unplugged again.
Absolutely. So Brian from Portland asked us, why did we decide to become coaches?
Okay, so more on that in a moment. But first, hello, I'm Steve.
And I'm Eric. And together we are two dads with one mission.
Welcome to the Allied Dads podcast. This is the show for dads, all about fatherhood, faith, and freedom, one conversation at a time. So back to that question from Brian. But first, Eric, so unplugged, it's just a way for us to go off script.
Right.
Totally unscripted, and we just talk about what comes up. So that great question from Brian. Why did you decide to become coaches? So, Eric, why did you decide to become a coach?
Yeah. So I love this question because, I like telling my story, mostly because it's the primary thing in my life that's allowed me to kind of explain so much of the challenges that I've had in my life. And it gives my life a greater purpose. And so, to kind of, I'll probably just jump around here. We're completely unscripted, but my primary goal as a coach is to take things that oftentimes took me years, sometimes decades, to figure out and really get fixed. Is I want to take my years of knowledge, experience, and all the research I've done and all that stuff that's happened in me over the years and help somebody just shortcut the path.
Yeah.
Like there's times and places where somebody's going to have to do the hard, deep work. But if I can help you get to that point where you know what the deep work is and you can just start and dig in, or if I can ask you the right kind of questions that will help, kind of extract and start to untangle, some of the challenges that everybody faces, with stress or, messages that we heard as a child, or health issues that have been lingering forever. And, you've been to every doctor and, you're on medication and you don't want to be, and all those kinds of things. I can just confidently say from experience that I can help you just untangle all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so my goal and my mission now in life is to help people do that. Like wherever they're at, if they want to be somewhere else, I believe without a doubt that I can help shortcut that entire process. So that's really it in a nutshell for me. So we can expand on it more, but I'm curious to hear from you, Steve. What's kind of the driving force, behind you becoming a coach?
Well, before I get into that, I just want to circle back to you. So as you were just explaining that, again, this is unscripted, two themes came to mind for me. And the first theme is this theme of standing on the shoulders of giants. Okay.
Yeah.
So what do we mean by standing on the shoulders of giants? It's like, standing on the shoulders of those who have been there before you. They've had all the learnings, the experience.
Right.
And they pack all that knowledge on. You're standing on their shoulders. And also a couple of famous phrases, one of them mine, one of them another famous coach out there, which is, it's compressing, decades into days.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I like to say compressing months into minutes.
Yeah,
it's just
absolutely.
Like what would take someone decades or months to learn and do. We've been there. We've had all the learnings. We've had all the failures. We've got the formulas, the frameworks, the systems, and we can share that with you so you can learn those same things, in from decades to days or months to minutes.
Yep. One of the taglines for my business is moment by moment, each moment builds momentum. And that's what I want to take those moments and like kind of compress them, kind of redeem the time, if you will, and shorten up that learning curve. So yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. So in terms of just circling back to that question on me now, why did I decide to become a coach? This is a really interesting story. Okay. I was tricked into it. Okay.
All right. I don't know if I've heard this part.
No, I was tricked into it. So I was running at the time, a hugely successful business here in the UK. But I got that corporate burnout. As the managing director for a group of companies, I was just totally burnt out. In denial at the time. I was in a real deep state of depression. And a really good friend of mine in peer group circle of other business owners, directors, managing directors, CEOs. This core group, this circle. One of them took me aside one day and recognized that, you know, I was struggling with these internal demons. I was in a deep, dark place. And he literally gave me a set of motivational tapes. And, you know, if he ever listens to this podcast or comes across it, the guy's name was Mike Carter, and Mike Carter changed my life. Mike gave me a set of motivational tapes from someone who I'd never heard of before. And it just happened to be Tony Robbins. Never heard of him. And it was Tony Robbins' original cassette personal power program. And I'd never listened to it for a while. I listened to it, and, you know, hey, look, there's no surprise, you know, the podcast name tells you everything you need to know. Allied Dads. It's like, I'm from the UK, Eric's from the States, and we're a bit more reserved and conservative here in the UK. So we don't open ourselves up to, you know, all the emotion and the energy and the bravado and, you know, the happy clapping.
So you start listening to Tony Robbins, and he's like, wow,
yeah, he's like totally in your face and energetic. So, but if I could see through all of that bravado, you know, stuff that was cringeworthy for me at the time, but there were some solid messages there. And I'm an engineer. So as those messages came in, I wanted to take that apart, because Tony was standing on the shoulders of giants. Tony had compressed, you know, decades into days, months into minutes. In fact, it's one of the very first time I heard that phrase, compressing decades into days, was, you know, it was how Tony describes a process called modeling, which is a topic for another episode. So let's just get back on track for now. And I wanted to take it apart. Where did Tony learn all this from? Which shoulders of giants did he stand upon? And it took me into various fields of personal development, which I trained and studied over a period of now. I'm going back. That journey started in 2010, and it's now, as we record this episode, you know, 2023. That was 13 years ago, and I haven't looked back. So I went on that journey for my own sanity, to clear my own demons. And then, as I said, I was tricked into it. As I started to resolve my own issues and, you know, become the best possible version of myself, all of these tools, techniques, and traits and systems and frameworks, where I learned them from, it's like, you can use these to coach other people. And I thought, interesting. So I was kind of tricked into becoming a coach. I fixed myself first, and then, like you, it's, you know, all these techniques and tools and frameworks and systems are so amazing, you can literally change the world. And then I went on my own, you know, evangelical journey to try to help as many people. And the rest is history.
So that's super interesting. So I want to address a couple of things there. I also had a pivotal moment with a Tony Robbins book when I was probably in my 20s. So that's kind of an interesting thing. But this phrase you've been using, standing on the shoulders of giants, you know, I never want to give the idea that I've somehow fixed myself and I've done it all myself. What I did was read a lot of books, listen to a lot of podcasts. You know, I went to some, you know, in-person, you know, seminars and things like that over the years. But what I never did, and what I really wish I had have done, was hire somebody one-to-one. Because, you know, there's so much information out there. In fact, that's really one of the challenges that we have in this world today is if you have an issue and you Google search it, well, you can find a book or an article to support whatever idea you want, right? And so then it becomes like, do I go this way or do I go that way? And, you know, and so life becomes like an experiment, right? But if you have more of a one-to-one relationship oriented coaching experience where somebody can really take you by the hand and help you figure out things, that's the thing that I wish I would have done when I was younger, because I don't think things would have taken me so long.
Yeah, that's how you take those shortcuts for sure. So in business, I had a great business mentor, one of my first mentors, and the advice that I got from the mentor was, look, hire the best business professionals that you can afford. Okay. So he was talking about accountants, financial experts, lawyers, people around your
Like,
boardroom.
surround yourself with experts.
Who you build your board with, yeah. Hire the best professionals you can in business. And I would say, knowing what I know now, the same goes in life in terms of, you know, hire the best coach that you can afford.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes you can't afford the likes of Tony Robbins, etc.
Right.
But, you know, and sometimes, you know, hire the best professional that you can afford. Again, you know, a topic for another time.
Yeah.
Sometimes the coach will cost you the price of a cup of coffee. You literally go and take someone out, buy them coffee, pick their brains.
Right.
Okay. But hire the best coach you can, because you will glean so much insights and information standing on their shoulders,
right,
which they've stood on the shoulders of giants before them. And all of this is kind of passed down almost like from generation to generation, from coach and mentor to coach and mentor, you know, to trainee. And, you know, it's just the fastest way. I mean, what's springing to mind for me, as I said, the fastest way, I just got an image flash before me of a 𝗬𝗍𝗔𝗀𝗍𝒻. And it's like those cars racing around the track.
Yeah.
You'll just get that information so much faster.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. As you were talking, it made me think when I was in my early, I think I was in my early 30s, I was selling health insurance. This is a bunch of years ago. And I had an appointment. I met with this couple and I discovered, you know, I was asking them, of course, you know, part of health insurance is determining what people do for a living. And they told me that they were life coaches. And I swear to you, Steve, I was like, what the heck's that? Like, is that even a thing? I was so oblivious to that whole world. And so we had an entire conversation about that and what they do and all this. You know, they were a couple and they worked as a couple together, and they primarily worked with couples. And so it was like, yeah, I just had my eyes ripped open to that whole world. So, you know, it's interesting that, you know, I've now dropped into that world. So interesting stuff.
Yeah, so that's a bit of background on how we became, you know, both became coaches, but ultimately, and I guess where our values are aligned is ultimately we want to help more people out there.
Yeah, that's it. You know, I just like want to give myself away as much as I can to help people. And that's it, you know?
Yeah, and the same here. And that's why we invite people to ask us questions like this great one from Brian.
Yeah.
So thanks for that question, Brian. Ask us questions or suggest a topic that maybe you'd like us to expand upon in the next Unplugged. Or
what's relevant to you? What's on your mind? Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you get your questions or these podcast suggestions to us? What's the best place for people to find us, Eric?
Easiest way is just go to our website, which is allieddads.com, just like it sounds, traditional spelling. So allieddads.com. All of our contact information is there, and you can connect with either myself or Steve if you want to, but either way, all of our contact info is there.
Fantastic. And it's about time to wrap this up. And the usual thing I say at the end is, you know, find us and subscribe on your favorite streaming channels.
Absolutely. Hey, thanks for listening.
See you next time.
All right.